a very warm welcome. Let me introduce all of you. Let's start with you, Sven De Cleyn. You are the program director at imec istart, and I'm told that you're a dedicated supporter of KV Mechelen as well.
Had a bad Sunday.
Yes. Yeah. Did you recover of the depression last week?
Absolutely.
Yeah? It happened. Yeah. Did you go and see it again?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And? Yeah.
Antwerp deserved to win, so I'll be very honest.
Okay, that's very sportive.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And next to you is Katrin Geyskens, an expert in vampire literature. It's on the website. It's something
on the website. It must be true, and it is.
And it must be important as well.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
After all the hard work at Venture Capital, it's nice to put my mind at rest and read some fantasy.
Yes, indeed. You are a member of the executive board of Capricorn Partners. A very warm welcome. Paul van Dun, general manager of KULeuven Research and Development, and a hobby farmer.
Yep.
And you have some newborn Hampshire Dawn lambs.
Yeah, 2 of them, my own
What's
spin-offs.
so special about the Hampshire Dawn lambs?
It's a sheep with a black head. So there's nothing special, but it's just a separate breed.
Okay, yeah.
a
And they're
little bit
doing
out
well?
of the-
They're doing well?
Yeah, so far so good.
Okay, and
they haven't died yet,
and
if that's your question.
And you've got the time to farm beside your busy
Well, let's
work?
put it this way, having my feet and hands in the manure from time to time is a good counterbalance with all the high-tech and hectic of the day-to-day business.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you. And then Lode Uytterschaut, welcome. Founder and CEO of Started at KBC. And you want to put startups on steroids. Is that a healthy diet?
I thought you were going to say that I loved Anne from Merlina.
Ah,
That was
yeah.
I
skipped
was super
that.
in love with Anne from Merlina
okay.
as well.
You
But
wanna-
I put him on
You want to talk about
steroids.
Merlina?
It was a
I
great
thought the steroids was more interesting, actually.
Merlina rocks.
Okay, Merlina, not the steroids. Okay. Well, it's the first time that we're bringing together different accelerators. You all support startups with your time, with advice, with money. Katrin, do you consider yourselves as colleagues or competitors?
I consider them as colleagues, actually. We need each other for the entire ecosystem.
Yeah,
You all agree?
absolutely.
Or conculegas, but it's not really,
No.
it's something in between, but we didn't find a translation in English.
I think we all offer services to and support to entrepreneurs. Not completely the same, but we need each other in order to have a healthy ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we're small enough as a country to have competitors here.
Okay.
I think we need to work together, and we're like one ecosystem. And I know for a debate it's not that sexy that we're not going into
Okay,
fight
let's
on
see how it
stage,
goes
but-
with the statements I have for you, whether
Oh,
you
yeah.
all agree with them or not. Okay, let's start with the first one. I once heard someone say Belgium has 100 delicious cheeses to offer, but no one knows them, while the Dutch have 1 mediocre cheese and the whole world eats it. So here it comes. The first statement is our Flemish modesty is counterproductive. Sven, do you agree with it?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
In
Elaborate.
a sense, well, let me start with the no first. I disagree because I think the Flemish modesty has brought us quite far on international level in many regards as well. It opens a lot of doors, it helps us to connect to other people more easily sometimes, or to strike a deal. So in that sense, I think the Flemish modesty helps to open a lot of doors. Mm-hmm. At the same time, of course, being too modest about the quality, and we really have a lot of quality in tech, in startups, and entrepreneurship in Belgium, it doesn't help if we don't think big enough. So it's a bit of both, in all honesty.
Okay, Katrin?
Yeah, I think also that typically entrepreneurs, it's a very special subset of the whole of Belgium. So the typical entrepreneur, he or she has very high ambition, and I think the modesty is not a real disadvantage, also because sometimes you have the surprise effect of under-promise and over-perform, which is often very, I think, valuable in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And you, Paul, do you regard modesty as a positive or maybe a negative?
Depends what you mean with modesty. I think we definitely undersell ourselves sometimes. You know, the example that you gave about the cheese is quite telling, I think. We can do better than that. If you correlate modesty to a lack of ambition, probably it's not a very popular message that I'm giving, but from time to time I do see that some of our entrepreneurs lack ambition in the sense that we've come across a situation already a couple of times that a company is on the pathway of a scale-up. At a given point in time, you ask yourself the question, either we go for a bold move and raise a lot of capital. At that point in time, usually foreign companies start to sniff. And it happens all too often that at that point in time, the foreign company with a bag of money says, well, you know, and if you're end 20s, early 30s, and you see a big check of a couple of millions or even more, what I sometimes lack is the bold vision, you know, sod off with your big check, I want to shoot for the moon. Yeah? And there you see sometimes too often, well, early 30s, end of 20s, I can have an easy life.
But maybe that money is needed to really upscale the idea.
Well, the point is it's also a matter of climate, because it's not only the entrepreneurs or some of the entrepreneurs, it's also all of us. Some time ago we had a discussion in a pretty large group, and one of the would-be entrepreneurs compared himself to Elon Musk and said, you know, I want to be the next Elon Musk. The way that in that room was reacted, a room full of Flemish people, was kind of, you know, it's ambition. It's ambition.
Yeah. Lode?
I think we're far too modest. I think if you look at, I don't know, you people all know Peter Hinsen, and he goes on a trip, I think many times a year, and he goes on a trip to Silicon Valley and China and whatever, to visit garages where HP was born, where Apple was born. And I think if you just Google, and I urge you all to do it, just Google, Omega Pharma was founded in a garage by Mark Cookie and his counterpart. Just try to find where it is. You won't find it online. Barco was founded in a small house in Poperinge. You won't find it. It's crazy. So we're not proud of our own champions. We should put them more into picture, also the press, by the way.
Yeah, and where does that come from, Lode? Because you work with startups, you work with these people who have an idea and they're very ambitious and they really want to make this work. So where does that come from?
That's a small question with an enormous answer. I think it starts in education, where we are learned to repeat stuff instead of do something with it. So the entrepreneurial feeling and the ambition, it's not taught. Second thing is, I think that it's like history. Somebody once said that we were overpowered by many, historical, by many other countries. So we need to keep your head down, and otherwise it would have been cut off. So people are also like rich families here. It's not something that you come out with, that you're rich or that you're successful. It's something that we as a culture don't appreciate enough. And I think success should be something that we champion, also for our kids.
And can anyone give an example of a startup which is anything but modest? Katrin, maybe, or you?
Belgian ones?
If I may, we had two very successful founders, Song and Jan, who founded Pozios. We helped them through their first journey. They came to that point, Paul, that you were describing. After a couple of years, they were given a big check. They sold the company. But then they restart the second company later. Now it's Deliverect. It's a unicorn. It's one of those companies that grew very fast. They started end of 2018. Now they employ over 400 people. They know, of course, they have I would say, a safety cushion behind their back. I mean, they generated quite some cash privately through their first venture. They can afford now to really think big, long-term and out of the box, and go for those bold moves. And that's exactly what they're doing. So also, it partly depends on having role models in an ecosystem that inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah. Anyone else who has an example?
I was just thinking the company is not yet that far, but I'm very proud of it, and it's a Leuven-based company. It's called Icometrics, and if you Google them, it says everywhere they are just on a global level the best in analyzing brain scans. They're currently on the market for a large financing round, and It's a super good team, and they all have the ambition. They speak to all the major pharma companies. They are, and they are simply the best. And you can feel it in the team that they want to go really the extra mile to go there. And I like it a lot. And this is from our own Leuven, from our own backyard, and super team and super product, and nothing to be modest about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for these good examples, but in general, we are too modest. I think that's the conclusion of this, after this first statement. Let's move on to the second statement. Public funding disrupts accelerators. Who wants to start? Sven?
I disagree with the statement. I think public money has to come into play where the private market, in full or in partial, fails. And I think in such an early stage where really young companies are not even born yet sometimes, the private market isn't picking up to the full extent of what is needed in terms of support. So I think public funding is needed in that early stage to generate some and help set up some accelerator programs. Mm-hmm.
For me, I think you should give, first of all, there's not enough. And second, it should go to startups and scale-ups to really scale them. I think it's, I see also with the public funding, the closer the companies get to the market, the less they get. So it should be pushed. Second one is that I think many small companies are funded a little bit instead of bringing them together and throw a big ticket after them. Mm-hmm. I think that would be more valuable and also bring more scalability to the market. Mm-hmm. And I think another one is that there's a lot of funding that goes to parties in Belgium that pretend to know their startups, but they, how do you say this without...
you can say it in Dutch.
Just say it. Well, no, my team warned me, don't say too much. So I'm, fuck it. So no, but the thing is that if you have like organizations that can slurp some subsidies, then they are going to do that, even if they don't know a lot about startups. And the downside of that is that like accelerators like we have, I think Sven and I, we cover how much of the market? I think 60-70% of startups in Belgium. So and then we see that money go to other parties. The downside of that, I don't care because we don't need it. But the thing is, these people then they pay mentors that we need. They pay our partners that we need. They do events that we cannot afford to do, but it's funded by government. So you have a lot of, and there's a sort of a competition that I don't like personally. I think yes, but give the money then to accelerators. But first of all, then build as a government a big vision. You know, like put your
that's
moonshot.
what we lack. We lack.
I think I think we lack sometimes a big vision. Like okay, as Flanders or Belgium or whatever, we want to be there in 1 year or in 5 years. There's a project. We need accelerators. We need startups that are coached by the accelerators. We need VCs and investment funds. We need the industry. We need the researchers and the chemists at the research institution, knowledge institution, thank you, and bring these together and go for it, and put real money.
And at a certain scale.
And at a certain scale, yeah.
Okay, and do you agree with what Lode is saying, Paul?
I do. I don't think that subsidies are disrupting the incubators that we know. Not at all. I think there's a way bigger risk that could happen with the government investing directly in venture capital. If you take a look at what happened 15 years ago in Germany, at a given point in time, the German government absolutely wanted to create a life science ecosystem. So the German government directly and through subsidiaries invested heavily in life science companies. The result was that 5 years later, there was a massive wave of bankruptcies in the life science sector. Yeah. And the end result was that during years in Germany, nobody invested in the life science sector because it became a graveyard. So I think there's way of a bigger risk that happens over subsidizing in the direct investment compared to accelerators.
So it can be very disruptive. Katrin, what's your view on this?
I think also what's very important is kind of the stage before, not the accelerators and so on, but really on the research and the fundamental research side. I think as Belgian, we see lots of things bubbling up really in a bottom-up way, and to keep that freedom for researchers and academics to kind of spend time maybe on something that is not yet applied in a spin-off, but usually there the really interesting stuff comes from. So there I see a big role for government funding, which is not at all disruptive for any of us, but which is kind of feeding the funnel for all of us then to work with.
Mm-hmm. Lode, you mentioned, I think, that subsidies are less when the company is growing. Isn't that the phase from going from startup to scale up that maybe an extra push is needed, a financial push?
Sometimes, yeah. But what I mean with that is for example, I'm totally pro funding of research and development, but it needs, at a given moment, and as sooner the better, needs to do the market check. Mm-hmm. So we see many startups that are super smart and great technology, but they cannot sell it to a stone. It's crazy how good it is. And we once went with a team of startups, actually. From startup, we went to New York because we had a partnership with Techstars. And they were going to pitch their startups for us. Their startups could pitch for us, and we could start up for them. And it was crazy how good these Americans were in selling air. Like, they were super good in selling, you know. It's like the Dutch, you know. They have one beer. Nobody want to drink it, and Dirk, thank you for the quote. Nobody likes it, but everybody drinks it. Heineken.
You can do some name dropping. Well,
yeah, well, sorry.
In Leuven, yeah.
Yeah. No, but you know the things, and then afterwards we could pitch with our startups, and their sales pitch was crap. But then in the network event afterwards, we asked those Americans, okay, but what's the technology behind it, and how far are you with the development? They were nowhere. They just got a great pitch. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this is a great position to be in, because I would rather teach startups who have great product how to pitch well than do nobos how to build a great product.
Mm.
Yeah. That's, I mean, as a VC, I mean, honestly, kind of the very first impression and the first pitch, sometimes when it's a bit hesitant or modest or, honestly, I don't care, because if it triggers me enough to have like, then afterwards 1.5 hour conversation, usually then you know what's behind it. And it's more important to have the fundament behind it than to have the glossy kind of show given by the pitcher. Mm-hmm.
And an early market test also, because that specifically for engineers, that sometimes is a difficult thing. They really want to have it up to 100% perfection.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes you can make way better money with a product that is only 90% engineered, and you know you just leave it there. You know,
and
you
the market will tell you what that last 10% needs to be.
Exactly.
You need to test it.
Yeah. And that's why guidance, professional guidance, is important.
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely.
So how crappy this is that we all agree.
Shall we move on? We have 2 more statements. With Mayor Ridouan, we already talked very briefly about sustainability. Well, the next statement is every startup should be sustainable. Do you all agree? I don't think so, but let's start with Sven.
Well, sustainable in the sense that they need to become a sustainable business and make money in the end to survive. Yes, of course.
That's sustainability.
That's also part of sustainability, becoming a sustainable business in the long run.
Okay.
Of course, sustainability is a flag that covers many aspects as well. Thinking more in the, I would say, more widely accepted definition of sustainability in terms of being attentive to recycling, energy consumption, and all the other relevant aspects. I think every startup should think about it, and most startups are not aware, or most entrepreneurs are not aware that also Europe implies now rules to every investor that needs to trickle down to the startups and the entrepreneurs, so they will need to pay attention to it as well. Most of them are not aware yet. Of course, that does not mean that every startup needs to be sustainable in all its aspects. We will still see a lot of innovation in domains that are not necessarily considered to be very sustainable. Those can still be very valuable businesses.
Yeah, there are absolutely different interpretations of sustainability.
Absolutely.
What's yours, Katrin?
I think at first, yes, I agree with Sven, because startup needs to be financially sustainable, because otherwise if you're doing something very good, but it's not financially sustainable, it will disappear. Then actually I don't really agree, because most of the startups and all the entrepreneurs I meet, they're very busy with sustainability and kind of addressing one of the United Nations SDGs. It's maybe because at Capricorn we tend to invest in clean tech, healthcare and digital applications. And somehow, by the way, probably we define our investment universe, we attract maybe people that are more open to sustainability. I think sustainability is also wide. You have the whole ESG spectrum, so it's also about diversity, about governance, about not only about the environmental part. So I'm pretty optimistic, but because I think there is already a lot of attention to it.
And are you sometimes in a position that you're in doubt whether this is sustainable or not? Katrin?
Can I give one example? Yeah. We met not a Belgian, but an international company that was making actually very nice high-level software to make the oil industry more efficient. And we had a huge debate about it, because we tend not to invest in the oil industry. We don't believe in it. We want to invest in alternative industries. This was a pure software company, an enabling company. We had really a large debate on it, many pros and cons. In the end, we didn't do it, because our LPs, our investors, it probably was not really in their universe to do that kind of investment. But it's really debatable, because these were nice and environmentally conscious people that said yes, but there still will be lots of development.
Those oil companies will exist for many more years. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, Paul. What about you? What's your view on every startup should be sustainable? Do you agree with it or not?
Well, a lot has already been said. What I can see is that there are more and more investors who primarily target sustainable investments. This is really becoming a thing, which is okay, which is good, I think. At the same point in time, I can't help but noticing that quite some of the entrepreneurs in pursuing sustainability forget that somebody needs to pay for it. Yeah? So you might have a wonderful technology that is green and clean and whatever you want, but is there a market for it? Some time ago we had a pitch, wonderful pitch, by a company that had a process for green chemistry. And it really, when you talk about environment, it was great. But the market did not want to pay for that. Yeah? That was 3-4 years of efforts down the drain, because they forgot to think about, well... Yeah.
But maybe not at that time. Sometimes you have a good idea, but maybe you are too early with...
Might very well be, but at the same point in time, nobody is going to pay for it during the next 15 years in a waiting chamber for the market to be able to pay for it. So, you know, there's a matter of timing also.
They should have talked to us. We would have confronted them with the market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Market test.
Yeah. Market test. What we sometimes saw, but that's past years, I'm super happy that today sustainability is earning money as well. We saw a lot of startups that didn't dare to make money. Money was something bad. And they were like, yeah, but if we're going to make money, we're going to donate it to charity. And I was like, what the fuck? Donate it to charity? Why would you do that? Because if we cannot become rich by doing something good. No, why not? Invest it in yourself. If you want to have an impact, you make money, you invest in yourself, you grow, your impact is bigger. And this is... the mentality is a little bit changing. It's not that go to wool is sokken, go to wool, not anymore. It's really like going somewhere. And if we did the check within our community. Actually, we coached 1,300 startups up until now. I think 900 of them are still alive and kicking. And out of those 900, we have 300 startups that actually in their core work on one of the SDGs. So that's big, and it's mission-based. They're all sustainable in one way, ecological in one way, and nobody's polluting, I guess. But many of them do, so that's great. I think it's the way forward.
Okay, I round up this topic because we're actually running a bit out of time, but I just want to highlight the last statement, especially also because they will elaborate on this topic during the festival tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. The main key to success is failure.
It's bullshit.
We have one opinion. We have one opinion. Who says yes, it is?
No, I fully disagree.
Disagree.
Yeah, we all disagree, I guess.
Yeah, nobody
You
wants
disagree?
to fail.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to fail. Nobody starts a company to fail.
But it's something sometimes that you hear from entrepreneurs, like you have to dare to fail, and
my
a failure
father
you
was,
can learn
my
from.
father was an
Okay,
entrepreneur,
all right.
and
Yeah.
he failed. So
Yeah.
my
So
father
you
was
should not- yeah,
my
because-
father was an entrepreneur, and the company went down. And I remember the day when we all sat together as a family at the table. It was going to be one of the last times because we were kicked out of the house and we lost everything. And there was not one moment that he said, "Hey guys, but on the positive side, we learned something." That doesn't happen. Nobody likes to fail. So failure, success is key to success. But I think that success is also learn the right things out of the
But is it a
failure.
cultural thing? I think maybe in the United States, people are proud that they at least tried to do
Yeah.
something,
Yeah,
although they
of course.
failed.
Yeah, of
No,
course.
I don't think you need to be proud about it, but we do need more opportunities to learn from it. A couple of years ago, we tried to organize an event like this one, just putting on stage people who failed. Yeah? Well, the reality was that we could not get any speakers, and the ones that we did get, they only identified themselves because after having failed, they
success.
retried and they
Yeah.
succeeded.
Yeah.
So, and that is culture. I mean, people are a little bit shying away from failure, while, you know, what went wrong, you can learn something from that also. But it's not the key to success, I think.
Yeah, I think the key to success is persistence, because it's good to try, and then if you fail and you have done everything in your power to make it a success and you still failed, sometimes it happens, but then kind of, pick up yourself and learn from it. But persistence is something for me very different from failure. Yeah.
Actually, already, I think 7-8 years ago, we started the Failing Forward conference, exactly to demystify and make failure more acceptable. But let's also not forget, because I heard also here in the panel now, entrepreneurs failed. No, they didn't. The person never failed.
Yeah.
The person learned a lot, will do things better when he tries next time. It's the company that failed for some reason.
Okay, yeah,
Bad
that's a
idea, bad
nuance.
timing, not enough money, whatever circumstances. They can learn and adapt, but the people learn an awful lot, and the person never failed itself.
Yeah.
I don't agree. Sometimes a person fails because they persevere in the stupidity. Because their ego is in the way. Yeah. Sometimes you tell them, look, it's not going to go, just check this out, and they don't, and they just persevere in their, and they're uncoachable people. I don't think that we see them a lot because we don't select them.
Yeah. But you, you as advisors,
Failure number one, you're not.
yeah, you as advisors, do you see this happening? Do you see it coming?
Sometimes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And how do you intervene?
Good advice.
Well, I think the most important thing is keep a mirror in front of those people. Like, do you see what's coming your way? We try to help them, and sometimes then even they ignore the mirror and go through it, and there is a wall behind the mirror that hurts.
Yeah.
And bring them into contact with other entrepreneurs. That's also very important.
Yeah.
You know, if there is a willingness to pick up things, usually there's more willingness if it comes from a fellow entrepreneur also. So that sometimes works, not always. But
Okay. All right. We have to round up. Our time is really up. It's gone on the screen. Our time is up, but I really want to thank you for participating in this debate roundtable, and also for supporting all those startups. So thank you very much. Give them a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.